everybody, it's Emily, and today I want to talk about the books that I read in November. So November was a pretty decent reading month. I read, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. 7 books, it's not bad. So first up, I read Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. I read it on my Kindle. And this was a really good book. I've never read Joe Abercrombie before, but I've heard him recommended a lot, especially for people who like George R.R. Martin. And I was very pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. This book is about Yorvi, who is born with a crippled hand, and his father was the king, but he had an older brother, so he was planning on going into the ministry, basically. I can't remember what they call it, because it's been a whole month. I read this at the very beginning of the month. So he was planning on going into, the ministry, basically, but then there is an accident, and he becomes thrust into becoming the king, and chaos ensues. He goes on this epic quest to take back his kingdom after he's been usurped, and it's really fun. So I gave it 4 stars. Next book I read was The Martian by Andy Weir, and I had this on my to-read list for a really long time. I think at least a year, and I finally got around to it. My son read it first and told me it was great, and if he liked it, then I had to read it because he doesn't like anything. So I finally read it, and I really enjoyed it, and we did a review on it, if you want to watch that. And I enjoyed it. It's very science-y science fiction, where it's more in the vein of NASA, and it could really happen. All the science in here I thought was awesome because it's all real, and that's really cool. And a lot of it went right over my head because I'm not a scientist, although I can definitely appreciate it. But it was still really good, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Another book I read this month was The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. And I also did a review on this, if you want to see that. And while it was good, it was not great. I think this is one of those books. The premise was great in theory, but just not in execution. I wish it had been better, because I really, really, really wanted to love this book. I love Patrick Ness's The Chaos Walking trilogy, and I wanted this to be up there with that, and it just wasn't. So I gave it 3.5 stars. And because I wanted to read something awesome by Patrick Ness, I picked up A Monster Calls. And this book was a really quick read, but oh my goodness, was it sad. I did not know anything about this book before I read it. I just had heard people say that it was good, and it was one of his better works. So I'm like, I should read that. And I'm glad I did, but I bawled my eyes out, and it was really sad. And the monster in this story isn't so much like the kind that lives under your bed as in the kind that is grief. And yeah, it's about a boy dealing with that kind of grief and dealing with the death of his mother. And oh, so sad. Very beautifully written. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars, but really, really sad. I also read 2 graphic novels this month, which, I don't really do graphic novels. I just don't generally like to read them. I tend to get stuck reading the words, and I forget to look at the pictures, and then I miss half the story. Both of these are for the tween book club that I run online, so I needed to read them so I could prepare discussion topics and whatnot. So the first one I read was Bone by Jeff Smith, and this is the first in a series, and I don't know, I want to say there's 9 books in this series. This is so fun. Guys, look how cute he is. Just look how cute. I just want to hug him. He's adorable. This is just a really fun adventure story about these guys who have left home. They have been banished from Boneville, and they end up on the other side of a mountain. They all get lost, and this is about how they get back together, and it's just really fun. They meet cool friends and dragon and fighting monsters that look like giant rat creatures. I don't know. It's just really fun. I highly enjoyed it. I think my boys are going to love it. And this one is Hereville, How Mirka Got Her Sword by Barry Deutsch. And oh my god, this book, guys. This book was so cool. I really, really, really liked it a lot. And I'm actually going to go and find the rest of the series because I need to read them. I just need to. This book is, it says on the cover, and this is why I picked it, because I was like, I have to know what this is. It says, yet another troll-fighting 11-year-old Orthodox Jewish girl. How cool does that sound? It's so fun. And I grew up Jewish, and so it was really cool to see some of that like nostalgia and come back to me. Like, I wasn't Orthodox or anything like that, but, you know, the Yiddish stuff, I remember my grandparents talking in Yiddish and stuff, and that's really fun. I really liked it. Mirka is an 11-year-old girl who wants to fight dragons, but she lives in a Orthodox Jewish society where that's just not what you do when you're a girl. When you're a girl in this society, you worry about your marriage prospects at 11. And Mirka doesn't want to do that. She wants to be a hero and do great things. And she's spunky and it's cute and sweet, and I really loved it. So you should read that, guys. It's awesome. And the last book I have read in November was The Evolution of Calpurnia Tate by Jacqueline Kelly, and I read this as a read-aloud. This is one of my favorite books. It's just so good. And I've talked about it before, and I will talk about it again, because I'm actually reading the sequel right now, and I'm planning on doing a video about both books more in depth. But what you need to know is this is a coming-of-age story that takes place at the turn of the century, 1899, and the main character, Calpurnia, is the only girl in a family of 7 children, and she's got 3 older brothers and 3 younger brothers, and so she's kind of a tomboy, and she befriends her grandfather, who is a scientist, and he teaches her all kinds of, like, how to study nature and all kinds of different things about science, and she gets her hands on a copy of Darwin's Origin of the Species, which is just, like, a banned book at that time. Well, I think it's probably still contested now, unfortunately, but, you know, she's reading that, and she's learning about all this whole world that is opening up to her, but she's realizing that she may not be allowed to go into that world. As much as she wants to be a scientist, she's dealing with the fact that her mother and father expect other things of her. And it's just a really great book, and I really love it. And I'm about, I don't know, a quarter of the way into the sequel right now, and it's so good. So I'll be talking about those again. So that is what I read in November. I had a pretty good month. I am at 60 books right now, and my goal was to read 75, and I'm like, oh, 15 more books. I can do that. But I can't, because, you know, I have a month, and it's December, and there's a lot going on, and I don't know that I'm going to get to my goal. I think I'm going to be happy if I get to 65 and don't make that extra 10, but if I do, then I'm Superwoman, because I don't know how I'll do that. So, what did you read in November? Please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. If you read any of the same books as me, please let me know. I'd like to hear what you thought of them. And if you like this video, please hit like, please share and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!